Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be out soon, and I've been playing a review copy with James and Chris, and it's probably become one of the best Assassin's Creed games I've played in a while. But one of the biggest issues this title has, that no other Assassin's Creed title has had, is there's a lot of moving parts to the game that can be overwhelming straight away. But Ubisoft has done a really good job of creating accessibility by having a whole plethora of settings. So in this video, I'm just going to go over some console settings that I've used. For example, we have performance options, so quality or performance. It's basically if you want to play in 60 FPS or 30 FPS. I play in quality just for the graphics. Chromatic aberration and motion blur are really good settings to also turn off. Chromatic aberration is that weird, kind of like blurry, bluey hue that you saw in Mirage with the eagle. Luckily the eagle isn't in this game, so it's not as noticeable, but turning it off, especially for photo mode, is useful. Motion blur is also something I would recommend turning off, because it can be a little bit sickening when you're trying to move characters around, especially with the movements. Some of the other movements as well, you can change the walking speed, the vibrations, which I don't really mess with. A lot of these settings I haven't tweaked, but you could tweak them to kind of make it more fluid and responsive to the player. I do really like how there is a lot of dead zone features and analog stick features just to tighten the gameplay. It's not something you really see as often. And then when it comes to the interface itself, there is, again, a lot of different things, and controls is where I would recommend you hang around the most, because trying to fine tune the controls is a little bit of a tricky one. And for me, it comes down to sprint and parkour mainly. So parkour up and parkour down is pretty much how it is described. You press A once, you run up, you press A, you jump, press B, you kind of drop down. But at the same time, you have to hold your left analog stick to sprint and then tap A. And for ease of comfort, I found if you have sprint attached to hold A, then as you run at a wall full speed, you automatically parkour up. This is really useful for parkouring down, because you can just hold A and then tap B with your other finger. Or even I've noticed that now I will perform her moves with holding A. So if you hold A and you run to an edge of a building, instead of like jumping stuttering, it kind of like does like a flip to the next parkour moment. Now the game does warn you that there is some conflictions. I personally haven't noticed any conflictions in the gameplay except with Yasuke. If you want to barge through a door by sprinting, this doesn't register. But in the time I've played as Yasuke and as Naoe, I really don't run into doors with Yasuke. He's kind of a character that you play in big infiltration missions where you're just going to take down all the enemies. You're not really going to be running in like a rhino and knocking the door down. So it's a mechanic that's in the game, but you can recommend it. You can ignore it. So holding A for sprint really doesn't have any options. You can toggle the HUD off as well by double tapping the right analog stick. I found this kind of stiff and annoying, as well as because this is also used for Eagle Vision, you gotta hold it. So I haven't changed it because I haven't found the right settings. I did try and have Eagle Vision set to Y, but because a lot of the interaction options are Y, it did kind of mess it up a little. And especially with like combat, it doesn't really do any difference, because combat you're holding the right analog trigger. So even if there is a conflicting button setting, because you've got the right analog stick pressed down for the button, it doesn't really register that there's a problem. So you're not going to suddenly start sprinting while you're pressing right analog stick and A to do an ability. So just say yes when it says that. It's just kind of what it's trying to tell you. Volume, again, preferences. Now, I would recommend immersion mode. Honestly, it defaults the audio to Japanese and Portuguese, and I've played a good 2 hours in immersion mode, and I don't know why, but it elevates that game just a little bit more. And I think it's because this game isn't designed like the others, where it was you climb into the animus and then you know that you're in the animus and you know that it's not real. It kind of feels like you're living in that history. I can't say much more because the animus HUD is something you've got to experience yourself, but I will say it's probably one of the best things the game's ever done. So interface is another one I would recommend as well, especially with the presets. So the presets is really good if you just want to limit how much, but it's HUD customization that I would recommend that you look at closely, because a lot of settings are hidden in submenus, and in this submenu there is a lot of stuff to turn off. Control reminders is the biggest one to turn off, because then you're not just going to get this big reminder of what buttons to press. And mastery points as well, so you've not got this weird number in your top of your screen that tells you how many points you've got. Ally mode and the widgets, I think that's fine because it gives that sort of standard UI. Target lock I did turn off as well because it's kind of irritating. But the biggest one is perception indicator. Now that's, in previous tiles, that's that white line that appears on the side of your screen when an enemy sees you. So if you're doing an infiltration as Yasuke and you're going to go into combat, there'll be like 10 or 20 different white lines on your screen, and it gets very glaring and very off-putting. By turning it off, your screen becomes less of a white mess. So as you're doing stealth with Nawe, you will have to rely more on your senses, her focus, her eagle vision, and not these white lines that are just going to keep popping up now and then. Now I do think that this is probably personal preference, but I would actually recommend this for PC and console users, especially if you've got a smaller screen like I have. Then it can be a little bit of an off-putting. It's a setting I didn't look into in Valhalla, but I should have, because and Origins. I think it was Origins I really disliked it the most, and Valhalla. But I think Valhalla's stealth was broken anyways. Stealth in this game is really well done. Honestly, it's the best stealth in the entire franchise since Origins. And I think I've just been trying to make it a little bit harder, so lesser perception. So then you're using tools, you're using focus, using eagle vision. Guided explosion mode, honestly, it's a setting that I'm annoyed about, because how the game works now, if you go into an objective you need to scout, and then you scout the information, you get the objective point, you go there. But if you haven't unlocked the buildings that's described in the note, in the clues, it's kind of hard to where to put your scout, and if you use a scout and it's wrong, you've lost a scout. But if you turn it off, you also disable some achievements that are linked. If you turn it on, you disable some of the achievements that are linked to guided mode. So for people who, like me, who try and 100% the game for achievements, guided mode is something you're going to have to get used to, which is going to have to keep it off, and you're just going to have to get used to guessing where to put your scouts. I think I've got the hang of it now. I use the first two clues, give you a map reference and a random location, and then a building reference, so it does kind of take some time. I'm not too sure why I show the dialogue icons, because I have canon mode, so I don't really get any of these dialogues options, but I think you can tweak them to what you think's best for when you're doing choices if you haven't picked canon mode. Quick time events I recommend as auto for Nawe's meditation system, because I'm rubbish at quick time events, so it's just nice for it to automatically do it. I can't remember what some of these other settings are. Melee attack mode. So melee attack mode is an interesting one. Default now is RB, so right bumper, left trigger. So right bumper for light, right trigger for heavy. If you have it on combo mode, then a single press will do a flurry of combos, so you do a bit more damage without having to mash. And if you have it on the posture mode, then it's just like kind of like an easy mode. So you can either have it as combo, so one press of RB of light attack or one press of heavy will do a combo, or you can have it as combo and posture. And it just makes like combat, especially with Nawe being low health, Kind of makes combat for Nawe a little bit easier because she has access to some cool combos, and you don't have to worry about the timing. And timing is something that I suck at in this game, so having the combo already there has helped quite a lot, and it shows off Nawe's speed, Nawe's ability, and how cool Nawe is as a character. So other stuff like dismemberment and blood effects is just down to personal preference again. I've kept them on because I'm used to playing Assassin's Creed at this point. Difficulty tuning is probably where you should go first. It's pretty much hidden away, but it's the most essential setting menu for all Assassin's Creed fans. If you ignore it, you'll miss out on guaranteed assassinations. Now, one thing that's really cool about guaranteed assassinations is it's not just for Nawe's Hidden Blade. Also, certain tools like the kunai can actually do guaranteed assassination hits with a kunai if you're in stealth. So outside of stealth, kunai only does 1 or 2 bars of health according to your mastery points, which is the skills. But with guaranteed assassination on, if you're not in combat and you're in stealth, the kunai can do 1-hit kills. So it's really cool for stealth just to have these kunai knives that you can just throw, instant kill, air assassinate or double assassinate, and then just keep going, and it keeps the flow of stealth, because the different options for stealth in this game from early on really elevates the RPG franchise. I'm not counting Mirage, I know it's harsh, but Mirage is kind of like an old school nod. So it had really good stealth, really good tools, really good parkour, and it felt fluid and natural. But when you look at the big RPG trilogy, which is Origins, Odyssey and Valhalla, the stealth and the parkour was always the weakest, whereas here they've kind of like nailed it. So I'm just going to show you some gameplay of the settings in action. I can't remember where I go. This is very early on in the story, so this isn't any spoilers. This is pretty much the second or third mission in this area. Nawe's looking stylish. The new customization options for Nawe and Yasuke in the transmog really is cool, and the world itself is just beautiful. There we go, nice little swim. I didn't capture it in this one, and it wasn't until this video was done that I noticed it. In this area, if there's a storm on, there's a lot of waves, and it is actually pretty cool because the boats actually rock. And if you steal a boat, which is what you could do in Origins, those little floaty ones to get around, you do some really cool bobbing up and down animations. So not only does the weather heighten immersion, but it also affects how the world works. Oh, doggy. So here's a bit of parkour. Now that's just tapping A, and then Nawe goes up, tap A, and Nawe does a little flip. Kind of cool animations, but if you hold A, as you can see, me holding A at the moment, Nawe's still doing parkour up, so it's like it's a one fluid movement of sprinting, running up to the wall, and then running across the rooftops. And I actually found this a lot more comfortable to do by holding one button instead of holding an analog stick and then having to time where I was going. Whereas if you can do it in one huge motion, it's kind of less of a need to time. Okay, I'm hitting the edge of a building, I must tap A. Oh, I must tap B. If you hold an A, you're automatically going to run off the building, jump. And if you're skillful, which I'm not, you will hit the next parkour part. And I think this is where I try and demonstrate the combo, but I haven't. So this is just one tap of the light. The kick is from the heavy, so one tap of light, now I do some spins. One tap of the heavy attack, now I will do a heavy attack and then kick. And that's a combo that I haven't actually been able to trigger without using the combo settings. But having it there, I do find that Nawe is a little bit better in combat. But Nawe, even though they kind of market it as that Nawe is the stealth and not good in character, I find that Nawe is better in combat at times than Yasuke for her speed and her agility. Naoe just tanks hits and then you just beat the living daylights out of everybody. Whereas Naoe is very in control of the battlefield. She can dodge, she can roll, and then when you get the tools unlocked, you can drop a smoke bomb and just get out of there. But honestly, look at the level of detail of these roofs. I don't usually do parkour in Assassin's Creed, everybody knows this. But in this game, I have spent so many times doing the parkour routes, especially with the grapple hook, especially with Naoe's little animations. And if you like sprint, I don't know if I do off this bridge or not. But if you sprint and press B, Naoe does some weird dive. It's really cool. There we go, I did it. So overall, I hope these settings kind of help you like tweak a game and encourage you just to look around the settings yourself and find ways to make the game a lot better for yourself. The game itself is amazing, detailed, immersive, and the plethora of settings just heighten that experience so much more. And Naoe just feels as smooth as butter. She's light, she's nimble, she's deadly, and she's hardcore. Yasuke feels sluggish, slow, but really beefy and really strong, and that duality really heightens the game. So I hope you guys are all excited for Assassin's Creed Shadows when it releases on March the 20th.